Computers. Small computers, big computers, fast computers, slow computers, fun computers, and not so fun computers. And now we have face computers. Computers rule the world, and now they want us to attach one to our face. The question is, do we really want to do that? Most people assume that the development of virtual reality started in the 80s or the 90s, but it actually started as early as the 1960s with the creation of the Sensorama. Developed by Morton Heilig, the Sensorama is considered one of the very first examples of VR technology. It was a large booth-like machine that could fit one viewer at a time. Although the Sensorama didn't become commercially successful, it was one of humanity's first ventures into VR, and it opened up the possibilities of what it could look like in the future. Let's look at a historical timeline of virtual headsets, starting from the Sensorama all the way to the MetaQuest 3 and the Vision Pro. It's been 62 years that we've been working towards this technology. 62 years. All of the hard work, innovation, and massive leaps in technologies over the past 62 years has led to this one single moment.
Wow. Oh, shit.
Off the charts with it. There you go.
Jeez Louise, you got a good lung with you, huh?
Well, the thing, I'm pretty decent at it. It's just the high notes are tricky. I usually rock just on the low end side.
Yeah, but
rock
I mean,
the low end side.
Lungs
It's a little easier. Yeah, my lungs are pretty fucked up actually. But I
mine's
don't know.
fucked up too. But your shit's better than me. I couldn't do
So
that.
what now? What are we supposed to do now? Designing a great device and getting people to buy it is one thing, but getting people to actually use it on a daily basis is a completely different problem. Gaming has been one of the biggest selling points of VR as far as getting the attention of consumers. But in comparison to the numbers that the biggest non-VR games pull in, VR gaming still isn't even really close to competing yet. It feels like most of the time when you download a game, you play it for like a week and then you never touch it again. It's kind of difficult to find games that you would actually see yourself playing every day. If you've never heard of Echo VR before, it's kind of like a super futuristic soccer game or something. You fly through space by pushing off of walls and obstacles, and you score by throwing a frisbee into a goal. The design of the game was inspired by concepts from the 2013 film Ender's Game. The physics were incredible. It's kind of impossible to understand unless you actually tried it yourself, but it really felt like you're actually pushing off of stuff and floating through the air. Because it was a team-oriented online multiplayer game, every time you stepped into a match, it was like a completely new experience. This type of gameplay can be very addictive because it's similar to like pulling a lever on a casino slot machine, which is one of the reasons why games like Fortnite and other online multiplayer games are so wildly successful. I really thought that this game was going to be like the next big thing, like something that you would see in a big esports tournament or something, until out of nowhere, it just shuts down.
So what happened here? Well, we had a game, we loved it, and it was a huge part of the evolution of virtual reality, multiplayer, a community-based game, a game that has had esports potential, and we kept it going for a long time. The Ready It Done team was real proud of it, understandably, and then ultimately it just dwindled. The user base is small. It's measured in the low 10,000s, but I just got to make those calls. It's part of my job.
You don't really see VR games blowing up in the mainstream headlines like Fortnite and Grand Theft Auto.
One of those viral games that is literally sucking productivity out of schools, out of workplaces, and you can forget trying to have a conversation at home.
Everyone's playing Fortnite.
Just to put it into perspective, Minecraft, which is the best-selling video game of all time, has sold over 300 million units worldwide. Beat Saber, which is the best-selling VR game of all time, has sold a whopping 4 million units. As you can see, this is a pretty massive difference. In comparison to the traditional gaming market, the VR gaming market almost doesn't even exist yet. Grand Theft Auto 5 is the second best-selling game of all time, and the release of Grand Theft Auto 6 is right around the corner. And that's definitely not going to be a VR game. So once everybody starts playing that, their heads are going to be out of their headsets and they're going to be glued to their TV again. So if VR gaming finally does take off at some point, it's probably going to be a very long time from now.
Who's that guy?
Hi.
Who is that guy? Who's this guy?
Hey, fellas.
Have you ever been invited to a party and you don't know anybody there except for the person that you came with? And you get there and you're like, all right, well, let's see what kind of random conversation I get in tonight. Well, imagine you get there and it's a bunch of these fucking guys. I'm sure everybody knows this by now, but there are a lot of kids in VR.
The age limit's 13. Some rooms look innocent enough, but there's pole dancing and strip clubs too.
To the point where, as an adult, you walk into the metaverse for the first time and you're like, oh, this is the daycare. And then you hear them talk and you're like, is that the voice of a 3-year-old? How does a 3-year-old have VR? It makes total sense that kids would be attracted to VR because usually adults have to think about this stuff, right? Like, how much is it? Can I afford this? Is this going to be a valuable use of my time? Whereas kids are like, oh, you're telling me I can go inside of Minecraft? Oh, dude, put that shit on my head right now. There's still a decent amount of places for adults to hang out. They're kind of hard to find, but they do exist. It's hard to bring myself to spend much time in it because it's just so, it just feels so weird. It's almost like you're being pulled into a fake simulation of a real social life. But it would be sick to hang out with my real friends in the metaverse. The only issue is they don't give a shit. I don't even personally know anybody who has a headset. So even if I wanted to play with somebody who I know, I couldn't do that. Socializing in the metaverse isn't exactly a mainstream thing yet, but imagine if it was. Imagine if Mark Zuckerberg's master plan actually happened, where everybody who is on social media right now is in the metaverse and spending as much time in the metaverse as they are on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. That is so insanely difficult to imagine. I mean, people now are completely addicted to scrolling through endless amounts of content on social media. So convincing people to stop doing that and instead put on this huge device and go out and start talking to a bunch of strangers seems like a kind of like a losing battle, you know? Social media isn't even about socializing anymore. You know, back in the day when we had MySpace and Facebook, those were pure social media platforms, you know? The only socializing that happens on these apps is in the comment section, and it's just a bunch of people arguing about the dumbest shit imaginable. Either that, or it's a battle to see who can make the funniest comment and get the most likes. So even in the comment section, where it's supposed to be about socializing, people are trying to make content. The closest thing to a pure social media platform that I can think of is Reddit. I mean, think about the amount of times that you've Googled something and at the end of it, you put Reddit. And you do this because you know that Reddit is one of the last places where people are actually having real conversations about something. You know that you're going to get decent information on there. Overall, I can see socializing in VR as a great way to connect with friends or family who live in completely different states, or completely different countries, or just a way for people to, meet random people and make friends. But as far as the metaverse, breaking out of being for this niche community and becoming this huge mainstream thing, I don't know, man. It's kind of difficult to see, at least anytime soon. But who knows? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe in 10 years, instead of making content on YouTube, I'm going to be fucking juggling in some virtual village. So one thing that these headset brands try to sell in advertisements is being able to blow up these virtual screens to a gigantic size. Oh, you have a 65-inch TV? Well, what if we gave you a screen the size of a fucking IMAX? Wouldn't that be sick? And everybody's like, are you kidding me? I'm never going to have to buy another TV again. But there's so much focus on how big you can get these screens and how many screens that you can have that you forget what the actual trade-off is. So this is what I do every single night. After a long day, I hop into my bed and I watch my favorite YouTube channel. Now, the pillow setup is really important, right? You have what I call the dinner mode, which is 2 pillows stacked up vertically. And then you have an extra pillow up top for neck support. And then you have relax mode, which is usually 2 pillows stacked up at like more of a 45-degree angle. I feel so relaxed right now. I feel so comfortable. I have no complaints. I have no issues that need to be solved. At no point am I thinking to myself, you know what sounds really good right now? Strapping a big ass device to my head. So first off, I need to make a decision, right? Do I want to watch something on a normal virtual screen? Or do I want to be fully immersed in a 360 video? All right, well, that was boring. I don't really understand the use case of a 360 video. It's like they thought to themselves, hey, what if we made a video and we let people like look around? I mean, we have the ability to do that, so why not just do that? And that's as far as the thought process goes. Who even wants to do this? It doesn't really solve any issue or really make the experience that much better. It just creates more work for the audience. Like, I don't want to be breaking my neck trying to watch some content. I'm trying to relax, dude. If you want the audience to see something, then just film it and put it in the frame. Okay, let's try to watch some YouTube.
I built a magnifying transmitter in my backyard after I read Nikola Tesla's notes.
Okay, it's only been like 5 minutes and I already want to take this shit off of my head. I'm so uncomfortable right now. It's interesting because in this specific situation, like, I hate this thing, but I actually do wear my Quest 3 every single day. I play this VR boxing game called Thrill of the Fight, and I'll usually play this game for about 30, 40 minutes every single night. And you know, I'm sweating, I'm like cleaning sweat off of the lens, like the lens fogs up because of all the heat inside of this thing. And I don't have any issues with it. And the reason why I don't have any issues with it is because I can't do this any other way. In order to box in VR, I have to put this thing on my head. I have to use this thing. So I'm okay with it. But as far as streaming goes, like sitting down and watching entertainment, dude, I'll choose a TV all day. Imagine if things were reversed. Imagine if instead of TVs, headsets were invented first. And everybody was using them for decades, didn't know any better, and then somebody comes out of nowhere and is like, introducing the TV. I mean, people would take their headsets off and be like, holy shit, dude, you're telling me I could just sit here and watch content freeballing? This is incredible. I think most people would agree that these devices are just too damn big right now. And I've thought about this a lot. How small would these devices have to be in order for me to use it on a daily basis in the same way that I use my computer and my phone and everything else, right? I'm talking about the size of glasses. Like, not sunglasses, like glasses. But it's like, how long is it going to take for that to happen? Like packing all of this tech into this? You know, like, that's insane.
This is a day I've been looking forward to for 2.5 years.
On January 9th, 2007, Steve Jobs stepped on the stage to deliver a presentation that would change the entire world forever. During his announcement, he focused on 3 devices: a widescreen iPod with touch controls, a revolutionary mobile phone, and a breakthrough internet communications device. He keeps repeating these 3 things until the audience finally realizes that this isn't 3 different devices. This is one device.
Today, Apple is going to reinvent the phone.
One device that would eventually become the best-selling touchscreen phone of all time. Before the iPhone, the BlackBerry was well on its way to take over the market. Aside from phone service, it offered email, text messaging, and internet access. But what it wasn't good at was designing products with a great user experience. And Apple was the best in the business.
And they all have these control buttons that are fixed in plastic. and are the same for every application. Well, every application wants a slightly different user interface, a slightly optimized set of buttons just for it. This is what iPhone is, okay?
Steve Jobs is very clearly not opposed to shitting on competitors on stage.
Oh, a stylus, right? We're gonna use a stylus. No. No. Who wants a stylus? Yuck.
The iPhone was a smashing success. Why? Because it was incredibly easy to understand the value that the iPhone was bringing. BlackBerry, clunky and difficult to use. iPhone, much slicker and easier to use.
But we do have one more thing.
When you compare the launch of the iPhone with the launch of the Vision Pro, it's a completely different story. It wasn't the same magical knockout ending with the major selling points being BlackBerry bad, iPhone better. The launch of the Vision Pro had so many complex nuances that it made it much more difficult for the audience to understand what to do moving forward. Mark Zuckerberg announced the new Quest 3 headset only 4 days before Apple announced the Vision Pro. So Zuckerberg and Tim Cook were stepping into the ring to battle it out in front of the entire world. What makes this battle different than BlackBerry versus the iPhone is that the BlackBerry was a product that was already popular and proved its value, but people still didn't know what to think about these headsets. What Meta was selling you was a device that allows you to escape the real world and enter into the metaverse. What the Vision Pro is doing is totally different. What they're offering is a spatial computing device. The iPhone solved problems, and it was very clear what problems that it was solving. The Vision Pro isn't exactly solving a problem. It's not exactly offering a better experience than what existed before. It's offering an entirely new experience. If you focus on its core functionality, what you're getting is Apple's current ecosystem that already exists on all of their other products, except this time it's sitting in 3D space. This obviously was not a strong enough selling point to convince customers to drop $3,500 on the device. Yet, it kind of seems like Apple's master plan is to cannibalize all of their previous products into one product to rule them all. Keep in mind, Apple is no stranger to cannibalizing their own products in order to stay ahead of the market. The iPhone cannibalized the original iPod by incorporating all of the music features from the iPod into the iPhone. So the idea of spatial computing becoming the new vehicle to drive the future of Apple isn't really that far-fetched. But Apple only cannibalizes their own products when it's warranted. The successor device has to earn it, and who knows how long it's going to take before the Vision Pro becomes successful enough to do this, or if it ever will at all. The release of the Vision Pro was like a gold mine for content creators. It offered a great opportunity to use the product as a way to get views and attention, and just about everybody hopped on the train. From the outside looking in, it looked like the release of the device was a smashing success. But in reality, this type of content probably did more damage than good. If you go back and pay attention to these videos, there's a key pattern that repeats itself over and over and over again. Nobody even knows what to do with the device. It's almost like they're not trying to convince you of its value, they're also trying to convince themselves.
Like James Cameron described it as like a religious experience, and it is. Like watching a movie on it is unlike anything. It's unreal. I was in like the grocery store the next day without the Vision Pro on, and I'm like looking at the various milks, like tapping my fingers together, being like,
really?
Yeah, like it worked its way into my real world humanity. Like that's how good it is. I haven't used it since the third day I have it. And the worst thing that I can say, and it pains me to say this, because when that thing came out, I was like, this is it. It's in the same drawer as my, whatever the Meta one's called, the Meta Quest 3.
Yeah, the Quest.
Like I haven't thought about or used my Vision Pro. I just don't know where it fits into life.
If customers can't find much value with the launch of the first release, what exactly is Apple going to do differently to ensure that the next release is a success? If the Vision Pro stays stagnant for a certain period of time, it might result in a domino effect on the entire industry. It could possibly be perceived that if Apple, the biggest and most powerful tech company in the world, can't make make these headsets work for the consumer market, then nobody can. It's not really about spatial computing technology that people don't care about. It's the entire concept of putting a device on your head. Nowadays, people are starting to become very aware of just how much time they're spending on their phones and are actively trying to figure out ways to unplug from the matrix. What's different about these headsets is that in comparison to other devices, it's kind of like a piece of clothing. It's something that changes your physical appearance. Out of all tech that exists, a virtual headset is like a direct visual reminder that we're getting pulled in too far. But if we've learned anything about the internet and social media in the past, pretty much everybody got sucked in. And now there's really no way out. But we need to ask ourselves a big question. Is this something we actually want to happen? Or is this just the inevitable future of technology and human society?